I was impacted by Sandy because I live here. So I didn't get to leave and go to Brooklyn somewhere or Upper Manhattan.
I would have never imagined after that day that the tide went out, that a year and then some later, I would still be looking at the damage. I thought it was over. It was just beginning.
It was a challenging time. We did not have enough people who evacuated. What it really meant was that seniors and people with disabilities were trapped in these high-rise buildings.
We had a giant wake-up call about cities and nature and how these two things come together.
After disasters, the first thing we like to do is immediately respond. But building back what was there is a default perspective. Trying to force people to think in light of that future was a big task, but necessary. And Secretary Sean Donovan did believe there was no other way.
Rebuild by design is a design competition that comes out of a tradition in the design field where you create a competitive environment and you invite smart folks to put together new ideas.
We wanted teams to come forward that thought of the word interdisciplinary, knew what regionalism was. We needed different minds from all over the world to work with us and invest with us in a process to define the region's qualities, interdependencies, and vulnerabilities.
Rebuilding by design brought different disciplines together, from designers to environmentalists to economists.
Applications kept pouring in with 10 teams selected out of 148. This was really about connecting the thinking of this region with the facts on the ground and the future perspective that was needed.
I think the critical thing that we've learned from Sandy is doing nothing is not an option. We have to do something here. And the only way to do things is to rebuild them better than they were before.
You need the big picture. You need a design process that's tightly coupled with scientific knowledge and modeling. But you also need to know, what are people thinking? How do they want to live? What is their relationship to the water? And then these two things have to come together.
I think living close to the ocean is one of the greatest things in the world. So I want to figure out how we can all live here and work here and be here 100 years from now.
I'm from Operation Splash. We're environmentalists. We're talking about the change over here. This was woods. This was all woods. Now it's salt water.
How can we improve the quality of the city's neighborhoods at the same time that we're doing storm protection? We actually don't know exactly yet what the right thing for the Lower East Side is. But when we talk about new uses, we really want to hear from the community here.
I bet you know what it was you needed when you were on the 4th floor of your building and couldn't get down for 5 days, or worse, the 44th floor of your building and couldn't get down.
Any kind of change has to have opportunity for the people who live in those communities to weigh in, to have a voice.
You don't have to sell people on resilience. They call it other things, but people have an appetite for building the collective attachment to their place.
New York City has about a 2.5-day food supply, and Hunts Point is the heart, pumping it all. And so can that flood infrastructure be something that addresses more issues than just keeping water out? Can it be something that helps build community and builds more prosperous businesses?
That granular innovation, where the really smart stuff has to happen, has to be born at that hyperlocal level.
So it's your knowledge, it's your insight, it's your daily experience.
How do we drive innovation across this region? What kind of process can we organize to make that happen? That is the hardest thing, because innovation always has to break rules.
We took a very strong stance as to how are we going to live with water in the next century. We cannot block communities from their waterfront and that cultural connection that people have had over millennia.
This region is very complex. We have 2 governors, there's lots of mayors, but Sandy did not make a difference between Democrats or Republicans, but also didn't make a difference between Hoboken or Manhattan.
In cases like sea level rise, we all sit in the same boat and on the same coast. Rebuilding by design is an opportunity to embed some of this long-term planning into short and medium-term solutions.
Not thinking about political boundaries, but really thinking about the region as a whole, as a system, and trying to come up with solutions that touch upon that system.
There's a lot at stake here. It's about attachment to place. It's about how cities evolve and change. And that's not going to come from an engineer's pencil or an architect's drawing alone. It needs to be integrated with all this really smart local knowledge. And I think that RBD is a great model for that.
As long as you stay open-minded, there are always opportunity to bring different disciplines together and work on solutions.
We want to make sure that what we invest in today actually still has meaning tomorrow and the day after. We will not leave the region after the designs are presented. The commitment in Rebuild by Design, in building more resilient, in changing the culture when it comes to the future, should not be left alone. So we will all keep on investing in collaborating to get these designs implemented.